Hey, everybody. This is Gail Kraft from the Empowering Process podcast, and I'm so excited with today's guest. It's Sajad Husain. Now, Sajad is an influencer. He really coaches high performers. He's a high performer himself, but he gets to share with us his story of what it was like growing up as a Sajad Husain right after 9/11. Quite an interesting story of how he became such a successful man. So join me today. I'm so excited. And I don't trip about shit anymore with my guest, Sajad Hussain.
You're listening to the Empowering Process podcast with your host, Gail Kraft. Listen as she holds frank discussions around how your purpose, being present, and trusting your power impacts your life. Whether you're an entrepreneur, leader, or developing your vision, you'll find wisdom and insights you can utilize right now. Welcome your host, Gail Kraft.
Hello, everybody. Gail Kraft here from the Empowering Process podcast. I have with me a very special guest, and I have no idea where this conversation is going to go. Usually I do, this time I don't. His name is Sajad Husain, and I'm going to give you a brief description as to exactly who he is. He's the CEO of Cause and Effect Consulting. And he wears many hats, including those of a recovering lawyer. He's still kind of working on that, and a persevering entrepreneur, and enterprising, top performing executive with expertise in vision setting, project oversight, development, and implementation, compliance, internal and external communications, relationship management, legal and policy review, resources and people management, community outreach, and organizing. So much. And this sounds so dry and so corporate, and he is so far not. He is currently a highly sought off, I want to say, highly sought after mentor, coach, sounding board for ideas and key advising, and he is a great sounding board. He is also an analytical and broad-minded influencer focused on solving problems, mediating disputes, and resolving matters to ensure ultimate project success. So, and today we're going to touch a little bit on some of his stories. So, first of all, Sajad, thank you for giving me your time today. And we have so much in common and so much not in common. This is going to be a fun conversation.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, Gail.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, with all of those things that you have done, and I have a background, very successful corporate career and a successful entrepreneur career as well. But you and I both started from the streets. We both were in a gang. And in my case, it was in Boston. And I tell the story of how I ended up there, or why I ended up there, not how. But that was family. Those are the people that had my back, right? Those were the people that I turned to when I had issues and problems. And those were the people that I supported, and we saw each other day in and day out. And those were the days that I would hitch to get places. I was fearless because nothing was going to happen to me because that gang was going to kick your butt if it did. And I knew it. So let's talk a little bit about your rougher around the edges upbringing.
I wasn't in a gang. I was affiliated with people that were in gangs. So I moved from a lower working class neighborhood at the beginning of the Iraq War when I was 13 years old. So the first day of school, they said, they called me a sand nigger, and they said, "We're going to kill you." And I was like, wow, I don't know what that means, and I don't know why you're going to kill me. And then I was jumped pretty much every day for the next year because I was living in a rich white neighborhood at the beginning of a war with a guy who had the same last name as me, although spelled differently. And I come from a Muslim home. And so then when I got to high school, there was a program where they took people out of the projects, a couple hundred families, and moved them to the rich white suburbs. And they lived in apartments over there in like one section. And I got along with those kids because I was into rapping and breakdancing, and I was into hip hop before hip hop was known as a thing.
Right. Right.
I'm really old, so this is a long, long time ago. Yeah, before hip hop was known, I was into hip hop. So I was into breaking and rapping and graffiti. And so it was culturally, those are the young people that I assimilated with. And also, they accepted me because I'm also a freaking weirdo. And so, in my experience, Black people are much more accepting, inclusive of people of different cultures. So I was always appreciated. I still am much more appreciated in general by Black people than I am by white people. So yeah, that's who my friends were, and I started selling weed when I was 13, and yeah, did that for the next 6 years till I got caught up.
So that was your first entrepreneurial experience.
Ah, my first one was catching snakes when I was 9
Ooh.
and selling them to the pet store for $1 each, which you'd flip rocks over and then you just put your hand down and swoop, and then you stick them in a pillowcase. But if there was a mother under there, they would bite you right here and hold on for dear life. So, but for $1 a snake, that was big money when I was 9. So for $1 a snake, it was worth it. So it was first that, and then I was babysitting after that, cutting lawns, and then I started selling weed later. So I've had businesses for a really long time. When I was 12 years old, my mom would take us to the library, and you got to pick out a couple books and a couple albums every week. So I listened to a lot of different kinds of music. I still do. And I got Entrepreneur Magazine, as they said I could get one magazine subscription. So that's the one I got. And so I've been into entrepreneurship forever. It always just seemed like, I don't know, it always seemed like the coolest thing to do to me was, and it was magical when I first started catching snakes and selling them. This idea that you could create money out of nothing,
Out of scooping dirt.
Yeah, you could just make money without a job. There's a 10-year-old on the block who's in love with my $76,000 twin turbo, and he always asks me tons of business questions. He owes me like tens of thousands of dollars at this point, but he said, "Mr. Sajad, what's your job again?" I said, I run my own businesses. He goes, "Right, you made up a job." I said, "Yeah, right. I made up a job for myself." So,
But I honestly believe the entrepreneurial way of living is it's like a renaissance. It's coming back, right? Because the corporate structure, I have this theory that was an experiment that happened around the time of Ford, right? And the experiment failed, and it's time for us to now change direction.
yeah, that's what a lot of people are talking about.
Right.
You really can't live off of most jobs anymore. The average male in the United States makes $37,000 a year. So that's not enough money. I was talking to an ex-girlfriend yesterday. She said she's getting a job doing security. And I'm like, "What does it pay?" And she doesn't want to tell me. I'm like, "Is it like $15 an hour?" She said, "Yeah, I'm going to be a billionaire by the end of the year." I said, "I don't think you're very good at math." I didn't want to tell her because I didn't want to hurt her when she was about to go take a job interview, but that's not enough money for an apartment. That's not enough money for utilities, food. If you got a car insurance. My house is paid off in cash, and I don't have any like major expenses, and my bills are still over $4,000 a month. Based on nothing. I don't know. I mean, I know what all my numbers are, but it's just crazy. The gas bill for a long time was 50. Now it's 150. I called the gas company. I said, "Am I using more gas, or is there a gas leak?" They said, "No, sir. It's the exact same amount as you've been using for 8 years." So, yeah, you have to be an entrepreneur now. I think you either have to be a corporate, you have to be making over 100 grand to like just have a house or a place to live and food and a car and be able to take a couple. You can't live on $15 an hour. That's not possible.
And that is making a living, not living.
Yeah.
Right.
Barely getting by, or not even, that's what they say, living wage,
Yeah, exactly. I tell the stories sometimes about, I was on welfare with a 1.5-year-old for about 3 months. And, it did what it's supposed to do. It got me out of the house. And then I looked around and went, I'm not raising this child thinking this is how you live. And I need to get out of this. 3 years later, I was asked to be by the way, no college degree, asked to be a manager of a department in this organization that is very prestigious and darn good pay. And of course, I took the job. Within 3 years, I had my own home. I had a brand new car, and my boyfriend, soon to be husband, was got a Christmas gift of flight lessons because he wanted to be a pilot. Right? And that had everything to do with me saying, hell no, this is not where I want to be. What do I need to do to get out of it? Now, that was working for someone else. Right. And it gave me the experience, the confidence, and the tool set to go, well, what I do here, I can do out there. And maybe make more, who knows, but definitely have the freedom of choice of what I do every day.
The best thing about entrepreneurship is autonomy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the things that you said on my questionnaire was, I don't trip about shit anymore. And I love that, because I think you and I are on the same page when it comes to that. I look at everything as being a blown out story and probably a lie. And I look for, what does this mean to me anyway? And what am I going to do with this information? And sometimes the answer is nothing. So don't get your pants in a Twitter if you can't do anything with this information.
Yeah, control what you can control, worry about what you can control. So I discussed briefly, there was a lot more to that story, but I don't want to tell it anyways. What happened to me from 8th grade through high school. And then when I was 17, I got diagnosed with what they said was an incurable terminal disease called myasthenia gravis. So I spent 8 days in a wheelchair, 4.5 days on life support, in and out of ICU for over those 8 months, had major surgery to remove a gland over my heart. And I was given 3 to 10 years to live. Well, they told me that's when I would most likely go back into trauma again, which if I was going to go through it again, I was not going to fight it a second time because it was too much to live with. And then when I was 19, after I got sick, I started doing and selling hallucinogenic drugs, mushrooms, acid, ecstasy, opium. And I got caught at 19, and I was facing 6 to 30 years in prison. And I got first-time offenders probation, and that's a long story that I don't want to tell either. When I was 18, I fell in love for the first time. My girlfriend got pregnant, had an abortion, slept with my best friend. And then, that's 25, 30 years ago. So now there's a lot more stuff, trauma that I've been through. So now shit happens, and it's like that rap song, just like brush it off your shoulder. Like whatever happens, I just don't care. I had a friend, a former client who's now a friend, stay over at my house a couple of weeks ago, and she accidentally dropped a glass, and it hit another glass and exploded all over my living room. And she freaks out a lot. And I said, I don't care about the glass. I don't care about the broken glasses. I don't care about the explosion. A piece of glass hit my eye too. I'm like, I don't care about any of this. Just don't freak out. Because if you freak out, you're going to stress me out. All this is a couple broken glasses. So just don't freak out, because she freaks out. And then when she freaks out, then I get stressed out. It's happened in business as well. So just stay calm through the shit, because I just expect horrible things to happen. I don't think life is in general horrible, but I know horrible shit happens. So, and a great phrase I love is, when you're in a hole, quit digging. So don't take a bad situation and then make it worse. I was a social worker for 16 years in the hood. I helped this young man get a job and go to college. And then he got a girlfriend. So then he got raised by his grandmother. When his grandmother passed, he started messing up at work and he got fired. Then he said, I'm depressed over my grandma. He quit going to school, which he didn't have any money. So then he couldn't go back because the loans are only deferred as long as you're in school. And then his girlfriend broke up with him. This is a real life story. So your grandma dies. Don't start messing up at work. Don't take a break, quote unquote, from school. because you're going to lose your job, you're going to lose college, and your girlfriend's going to break up with you. Don't make a bad situation worse. Bad shit's going to happen. People are going to die. You're going to feel depressed sometimes. You're going to fall in and out of love. You're going to get a terminal disease. Things are going to fucking happen, and just don't. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's just part. It's part of life. There's suffering.
It really is. It really is.
So,
and it's part of an opportunity for us to sit back and get curious of like, well, how do I want to navigate this in my life? So you're given a choice on how you're going to navigate it. For me, I want to say I used to have a friend who is very enlightened, you would think, but shit would happen, and I would see on Facebook her bitching and moaning and bitching and moaning. And I sent her a text one time. I said, honey, I can feel the fire in that text. You're feeding the fire. If you really are concerned about solving a problem, feeding the fire does not solve the problem.
I had a friend for 5 years, or maybe it was 5 years or more than that, between 5 and 10 years, told me all the time that he was carrying a 10 pounds of potatoes in an 8-pound sack. He would say it all the time. And I would tell him all the time, you should quit carrying those fucking potatoes.
Put it down. Or
Stop
cook them and eat them.
Make some garlic mashed potatoes,
right?
Make some french fries. But stop carrying around. What do you carry around baggage for? Here's something very controversial that I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me about. People that recognize people that have passed, they recognize their birthdays and they recognize the day they die. So if you got 5 people in your life, and every birthday you recognize their death, and every day that they died, you recognize their death, you just spent 10 days a year setting yourself up to be fucking depressed. I've lost friends. I've lost family members. My grandpa, my uncle, my grandma 2 months ago, who was the closest person to me in the family. I've had friends of mine murdered. All kinds of shit has happened. I don't know what, I've never been good at birthdays. I don't know their birthday. I don't know what day they were died. I think about them pretty much every day, but I don't have days where I have friends of mine that will just spend days sitting there. They'll lose days of their life being depressed about somebody that they cared that passed. I think that's a total waste of time. Going back to the control thing, I don't have control over when my grandma dies. I think about my grandma every day. I think about calling her all the time. And I'm not going to have her calendar on my birthday and her death date on her death day on my calendar, because then I'm just going to have 2 days a year where I just spend the whole day crying. Going back to when you're in a hole, quit digging. So don't highlight the horribleness, celebrate their life, your time with them, but don't set yourself up for failure that way. A lot of people are not going to like that. I just said that.
So absolutely. And, there are people who get fed off of grief. They create their situation. They create their grief. They create their overwhelm. They create their out of controlness, because this validates their existence in their eyes. This is their purpose, is to navigate through this stuff. And for many of them that I know, I have some who like, Gail, I don't want to talk to you because I know that you think that I cause my own problems. And I'm like, yeah. Right. And like you said, shit happens. So I'll share with you, the shit that I'm in the middle of right now. And I actually look at this as, holy crap, I'm going to come out of this like so different. I'm so excited about this journey. A week ago, Thursday, so not quite yet a week ago, I was in for surgery, and it was for breast cancer. And when I got the diagnosis, I've not yet had the feeling of being a victim. I've had the feeling of, okay, so first of all, how did I cause this? So I need to investigate what energy am I holding on to that has allowed this to get created, and let's release that shit. And then and what's this experience going to be in my life? When I was going down to surgery, so 2 things happened while I was there. I started singing I'm Off to See the Wizard, because I know the child energy is the most healing energy we can create in our body. right? And everyone in that OR, as we're passing desks, started singing with me. And then we started talking about our favorite witches. And my surgeon started taking off my ruby slippers. I mean, we all got into the play with around what was about to happen, right? And just before leaving, my daughter was there with me, and her stress level was off the roof. So I reached out to grab her hand because I knew she needed reassurance. And the nurse that was in the room at the time was in tears. And she said, "Thank you for sharing this moment with me. My mom passed away, and to see something this beautiful between mother and daughter was something I needed to see."
Nice.
Right? So, and I have a whole other story that, I'm not going to share here about how the universe has been telling me this is coming. And I listened to the universe and did everything it told me to do. I could be, so many people are angry. They're afraid, they have this death wish or this death vision about what's happening. And I just reached out to my resources and said, what can I expect? And what do I have control over? And how do I make decisions about what I want to do? And I have said no to some of the recommendations, and in fact, hell no, and have said yes to others because I have control. I still have control. And so that's, like you said, shit happens in your life. And it's really up to you to decide whether you see it as an opportunity to grow and heal, or if you see it as an opportunity to create even more chaos in your life. Like, more chaos is the last thing I need in my life.
I have a lot of thoughts.
I saw you writing, go.
I have a lot of them. So the victim mentality, my parents both grew up in poverty. They're both immigrants. Neither one has a college degree. They came to the United States with literally, I hate the word literally, with literally $10 in their pocket. They got over 5 million. So I think their number one goal was to make sure that my brother and sister and I didn't have the victim mentality, that it was everything is your fault. And that's what I teach my clients as well. Right. You are in control. The name of my company is Cause and Effect Consulting because it's cause and effect. Right. You can predict the future based on your moment-to-moment choices. What are you doing right now? What are you doing right now? What are you doing right now? Drama. People that don't have shit going on in their lives like drama because it fills empty space. Same thing. Reason why old people like bitching so much is because they have nothing else going on. So that's just creating action, drama or bitching about life. Suffering is good. So I've been through lots and lots and lots of trauma and suffering. Nothing phases me now. And I know that I can overcome any adversity, whether it's love or business. One of my business partners broke up with me last week, who had a massive amount of influence, somebody I really loved. Loved working with her. I was making a lot of money by being associated with her. She said I was the top person to ever provide reciprocity in a business relationship that she'd ever been with, but it broke off because people get offended by me.
No.
But the suffering is, and I broke up with my girl last week, a girl I didn't want to break up with. So, it's all suffering. It's good. It doesn't faze me anymore. It's not that I'm emotionally detached or something like that. It's just, I can handle it. I know I can handle anything now. No matter what happens, I'll be able to handle it. To your energy thing on the cancer, I think that's cool as hell. Because when I got sick, I had streamers and balloons put up that said congratulations on your baby.
Yeah.
So since my illness, when I got sick, 1 in 300,000 people got diagnosed with my illness. 88% of people died within the first 24 hours, if they got diagnosed, because it was so rare. Well, I think it's better known now, but it's still a rare disease. And so I had a big tinfoil bowl filled with oregano on the windowsill. And these doctors from all over the country would come visit me to talk to me about the experience of my illness. And they'd be very timid. They'd say, knock on the door really timidly. Can I come talk to you, Sajad? I say, yeah, get the fuck out in here. Come on, man. What's up? What do you want to talk about? And then, they were very uncomfortable, and I made them very comfortable, even though I was the one on life support. And they're like, what are you going to do when you get out of here? I'm like, I'm going to jerk off and smoke that fucking bowl over there because I got pipes all over me right now. I can't do nothing. And I was working at a pizza joint while selling weed. So they would bring me free pizzas. So I would take my wheelchair up and down the ICU aisle, and I would race people who were on crutches that were in ICU, and I would hand out pizza because most of us were on liquid diets. And when you're dying, pizza is better than a liquid diet. You're about to die anyways. You might as well eat some pizza.
Well, seriously.
They don't give you whole food because you might choke to death. But the focus of your energy on gratitude. So if you have water, food, clothes, and shelter, you're doing better than 1 billion people on earth right now. If you're sick and you have health care, if you're sick and you have family that gives a shit about you and friends that give a shit about you, it's all good. Everything is good. There are lessons that are going to be learned. You learn the most at the best and the worst of times. And you also find out who your real fucking friends are, because you never know who your friends are until you're broke, homeless, sick. That's when you really see. You'll have 3 people in your life that you had no idea they were going to step up. And then you'll have 3 people in your life who you thought were good friends that won't be there for you. So it's a cleansing. But if you focus on the gratitude, if you focus on the gratitude of the moment, like what I think you're implying potentially that's there, it's all good. Everything is good. And then we're going to die. So it's okay. Don't worry about it. Les Brown says there's a lot of regrets left in the graveyard. So I'm on 27 years now of borrowed time. I've never looked at life as the amount of time that I'm going to live. And if I get killed today, which is possible, I create a lot of social chaos, then that's okay if I die today, or if my illness kills me today or something else. If I die today, it's okay. I have lived the hell out of life. And so I think that the fear of death is the regret of not living. Instead of having the fear of death, just make sure you live as much as possible. Make the most out of every moment of life. And then my last point here is, it's not the amount of time, it's the amount of life lived in the period of time. And there's a great article called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. This woman who interviewed 30,000 people on their deathbed. I read it once a month. It takes a couple minutes to read. You can Google it and it's free. The 5 Regrets of the Dying. Just read that once a month and live by that. And you'll be all right.
It's really interesting because I have no regrets. I really, if I want to do something, I do it. And especially if I feel the universe nudges me, I don't ask. I just like, okay, and go and do it. And I've done the past 3 years across country road trips. Just got in my car, 6-8 weeks, driven to nowhere. And I really want to do that permanently. And so I did call my one of my sisters to let her know that what I was going through. And I said, when this is done, that's it. I'm selling the house and I'm going on the road. And she's like, well, you know how I feel about how dangerous that is. I said, listen, when I die, I'm not going to regret not doing something I wanted to do. So whether you think it's dangerous or not, I feel drawn that I have to do it. So I'm going to.
I've been living on the road the last 3 years. So
there you go.
I own a mountain in 10 acres in Arizona if you want a place to stay.
Okay, I'll let you know when I head that way.
Right. Yeah, and then you know about BLM land, Bureau of Land Management?
No.
Okay, so there's federal land all over the United States where you can stay for free for up to 2 weeks, but nobody monitors it. So you could stay there for months, actually, for free. So some of the places are kind of crazy, but there's always like a manager. So you just got to find Cece or whoever it is. There's some manager like on mountains. There's a neighborhood watch person. Also, Crack and Barrel parking lots, you're allowed to stay for free for the night.
Same with Walmart.
You can get the kit, not all the Walmarts, about 20% of them.
Oh.
But the Crack and Barrels are safer than the Walmarts. But the Crack and Barrel, they got this $5 meal for the kids' meal. It's eggs, bacon, and hash browns. And it says for kids of any age. So for $5, so for $5, and then I give a $4 tip. So for $9, you get breakfast, and you stayed in the parking lot for free. But BLM land, and then Crack and Barrels, there's a Crack & Barrel right before the Florida Keys. So I have a RV, a truck and an RV. So yeah, it's I've never had any problems on the road. The only issue I had was with a state police officer who thought I was hitting on a park ranger. I was being flirtatious with her, but I wasn't actually attracted to her. But she was flirting with me. I was flirting with her. But I don't know if that was some girl he liked or if that was his girlfriend, or I know she wasn't married because she made comments towards me about, she was like 25. She's like, how old are you? I'm like 44. She's like, well, you're still 2 years younger than my dad. So but he approached me in the RV in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, hey, you hear about my future ex-wife? He's like, actually, I am here about that. You made threatening comments. And I'm like, nah, I didn't make any threatening comment. I didn't. Why would I threaten a girl that I'm flirting with? I made no threatening comments. But that was the only incident I had in the last 3 years of being on the road, was not with a crackhead or a drug addict or a meth addict. It was with a fucking state police officer who was scaring the crap out of me because I was in the middle of the desert. He has a gun and a badge, no cameras, and we're in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
So that was scary. But that's the only incident I've had. That and like just having sand and dirt on my feet from staying in all those crazy places. And then I went into a really nice Mexican restaurant and I ordered my food. And then I told my waitress, I'm going to go take care of my dog, give her some water. I'll be back in. So I went and gave my dog some water and I walked back in. And the manager approaches me as I'm going to use the restroom and says, the restroom's only for
paying customers. Yeah.
And he looks at my feet and I'm like, yeah, no, I live on the road. Like I am a paying customer. I have a lot of money. I'm like, I am a paying customer. So there was a couple times on the road too, where I got to feel, which again, that suffering is a benefit. I got to feel how homeless people are treated, which is totally dehumanized because I was assumed to be homeless a couple times. I told my mom about it. I'm like, Mom, I have a paid off trailer. I have a paid off house. I'm not homeless, you know? And she's like, well, you got a really big truck too. So really you have 3 potential homes. Like, that's right. I can live in my pickup as well. So,
my God, it's just crazy. So, and I'm also going to join House Sitters. .com. So there are so many options that are out there. You know, so it really is, you know, what is it that you're feeling drawn to? And, you know, you're here in this life to experience that. You know, people say, you know, what's my purpose? Your purpose is to get off your butt and move and experience. Right. And if you have a desire, not to follow that desire is an insult to the universe. It's an insult to you, to your soul saying, I'm going to be there. If you have a desire, then get up and follow it. I know so many people who are wasting their life sitting around, like you said, having coffee, gossiping, complaining, whatever, and judging. And it's just such a waste. And they're the people who are experiencing pain in their life. Those are the people who don't know how to say, I don't give a trip about the shit anymore, right? They don't know what that means.
Yeah, I have 3 thoughts.
Okay, I love it.
So Les Brown says you put in the work to get what you want to achieve, and the how is none of your business. The universe is on your side, right?
Always.
But you just got to think about how. And on the how, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, one of my favorite things about that book, one was assets versus liability. Asset is something that makes you money. Liability is something that takes away money from you. So a house is not an asset while you own it, unless you're renting it out. It's a liability. Right. And then the other one is how. So one guy looks at the Lamborghini and says, I wish I could have that. The other guy looks at the Lamborghini and says, how do I get that? So once you ask yourself how, your brain starts to work. Like whatever your crazy dream is, for anybody that's listening, whatever your crazy dream is, it's not crazy, but how are you going to achieve it? Once you ask yourself the how, then it's possible because your brain's going to start to figure out, like, I want to live on the road full time. How do I do that? Once you say how, and you start putting it out into the universe, like you did with me, then I'm going to say, oh, you can do this, this, and this. The universe will give you the answers to your questions when you ask how. Paralysis by analysis. So a lot of people don't take action because it's not ready yet. It's never fucking ready. I've been doing business consulting over 10 years. I still suck. I'm the best in the world at what I do. And a year from now, I'm going to be looking back at this year and saying, man, I could have done all this stuff so much better. I'm constantly learning by teaching. And I'm taking massive action. I post to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube every single day. Some of them get 2,000, 3,000 views. The one today in a couple hours got 20,000 views so far. Probably another 20,000 views since I've been on this this call with you. But it's just consistency is the number one key to success. Persistence and consistency. Right. You just keep going and going and going no matter what. But you want to be stubborn, but not stupid stubborn. So you got to get out of your own way. And then imperfect action is better than a lack of action. You do through learning. So you try it. I throw shit against the wall every single day, and I make a ton of money. And most of the things that I try, I wouldn't say they fail. They don't go as well as I'd want them to go. But I have enough hits. Like Mark Cuban says, you only got to be right once. The people that are the most successful are the ones who look at failure differently. Failure is not when you try and it doesn't work. Failure is only when you give up. So
I wrote down two thoughts. Number one is when I work with clients, I tell them life is an experiment. And what happens when you're in a lab? You try something, it doesn't work. What do? You walk out and close the door and never go back in the lab? No, you make some notes, you make some adjustments, and you do the experiment again. That's, it's that simple. And it's that much fun. Number one. Number two, I love that you said ask questions. The Empowering Process. That's a book that I wrote that is 366 empowering questions. And so an empowering questions is structured in a way that your subconscious mind thinks you're already doing it and looks for more ways for you to do it. So you say, how else, who else, where else? So what more can I do right now? And there's time, parameters to achieve what it is that you want to achieve. And so your brain wakes up and pays attention to what's going on already that you're not aware of. And then you can take action on it. If you don't take action, your subconscious goes, yeah, all right, whatever, and stops.
Yeah, the universe is on your side. It'll all come to you if you put the work in.
Right.
And everybody says all the same stuff. Every great leader or perceived great leader, everybody that everybody follows, they all say the same stuff. I saw that, what is his name? I don't know. I don't care. Like all these people pay attention. Hormowitz, Alex, is it Alex? I don't know. He's really, really famous. He's top 10 in the world if you search entrepreneurship or you search business development. But he had this video, Hormozy. You know him?
Nope.
All right. Well, he's top 10 in entrepreneurship and business development.
I'll look him up.
And the thing is, though, I had a bunch of my former clients telling me about this guy. And I went and looked at him. He says the same stuff I say. And everybody says the same stuff.
Well, truth is truth. Hello.
You got to put the work in. You got to be accountable. So he had I researched him for like 3 hours this week because so many people were talking about him. And he had this 6-minute video popped up the other day when I woke up that said how to get 1 million followers on social media. Right. So I'm like, 6 minutes. I'll watch that. He said, post every single day. I posted every day for 6 years before any of my videos got any attention. That's the magic pill. There's no easy way out. There's no funnel. There's no marketing campaign. There's no easy way out. It's just work. It's consistency and work. You just post every day. You network, the same networking groups all the time. You put yourself out there on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Every single freaking day you engage, you go to networking events, you do podcasts, you do presentations, you just work your butt off. And then of course you're going to get the results. It's just about the amount of work you put in.
The first time that I realized this, oh my God, I want to say it was 2012, 2013, when I was first fully engaged in being an entrepreneur, not just part-time, but fully engaged. And I had a marketing coach that I was working with, and we had a mastermind group going on. And there was a woman in that group that she had said, do your videos every day. just keep doing your videos. And the woman would be like, well, no one's watching them. She's like, do your videos, shut up and do your videos, do your videos. Well, the next thing you know, the client of hers gets a call from some TV station in LA saying, hey, we've been watching your videos. We'd love to interview you. You don't know who's watching your videos.
Hold on.
Yeah, I see you're making notes like crazy. I love it.
Yeah, that one's inspirational for me too. So I was on Insta for 157 days with less than 100 views per day. And it's 5.5 months of posting every day. And at some points through the 5.5 months, I was thinking, man, you're a fucking idiot. What are you doing, bro? Like less than 100, right? Then one pops up for 100,000 views. And now all of them are getting 5,000, 10,000. Every day I'm getting notification that the other 157, no, it was 167. It was day 168 where I hit. And my other 167 videos are all being promoted now because I got one that hits. That's what it is. And you never know which one's going to hit.
Right.
On social media, there's these things called lurkers. And a lot of the people that are listening are probably lurkers. They watch stuff, they don't comment, they don't react, but they keep watching the same stuff. Lurkers turn into stalkers. Stalkers turn into fans. Fans turn into super fans. Super fans turn into clients. So you just don't know who's looking. You don't know who's lurking. You don't know who's a stalker. You don't know who's a fan. You don't know who's a super fan. Usually your super fans comment and react, but your super fans turn into clients. Here's what people call work that is not work. Reading, researching, creating, analyzing, strategizing, and ruminating. That is not action that will make you money right now. If you want to make money right now, you need to do money-making activities. So what are money-making activities? Money-making activities are networking groups where you reach out to people. You DM them and say, Gail, what you do sounds cool. Love to hear more and tell you about what I do. It's essential that you say and tell you about what I do. So then give them your calendar. That's it. Hey, Gail, what you do sounds cool. Love to hear more and tell you about what I do. Here's my calendar. That's how you and I are talking right now, right?
Right.
I hit you up in an event. Get in front of people and pitch people. To pitch means to clearly and concisely articulate massive value. Research people before you meet with people so that you can incorporate their specific needs in an interwoven way. Make it sound like it was made for them by researching them. So get in front of people, get your calendar filled up, pitch people. Stop researching, stop reading, stop creating, quit analyzing, quit ruminating, quit strategizing, and get out here and fucking try to make some money. Go make money. I make a lot of fucking money because I take massive action. Podcast presentations. I run 2 of the biggest networking groups on earth. I'm a co-host and a co-creator, co-partner. And then batch content. So when my clients hire me, they usually tell me they're working 12 to 17 hours a day. Then they write up and submit an hour-by-hour schedule with quantifiable measurements. So 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., you said you're doing emails. Are you doing 3 emails or 30 emails, and why? What my clients find out, what I find out about people, been doing this over 10 years, is the vast majority, probably 99% of people, work between 3 and 5 hours per day. Most of their day is filled up with bullshit, meditation, ruminating, walking. One of my clients asked me, does walking count as one of my 12 hours of work? Like, walking? Why would walking count? You have an employee named Mike. You're paying Mike $200,000 a year. Take yourself out of yourself and look at yourself. Look at your schedule for today that you wrote up. What would you say to your employee if he handed you that schedule? On the weekends, when you don't know what to do, because my clients end up knowing they have no idea what to do once they find out they're working 4 hours a day. So like, what do I do? One of the things you can do on the weekends is batch content. So I shoot 45 TikTok videos in 30 minutes. Then I repurpose the same video to Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube every day. One of those 45 videos. And it takes me 6 minutes to post to 4 platforms. So batch your content on the weekend and then post once a day. It doesn't take a lot of time.
I do the same thing on the weekends. That's my, I call it my video creation time, right? That's when I'll do that kind of work. So, so I do walk, meditate, and all that stuff, but I do it before 7 a.m. 7 a.m. is when I start working. So that's not when I'm taking my meditation walk. That's not when I'm ruminating. That's not when I'm strategizing. That's when I'm actually, online. I'm looking at my calendar. I'm talking one-to-one. I'm going to networking meetings. I had one just before coming on with you that I had to do a hard stop. They were still going. I'm like, nope, got a hard stop. Bye. Right. But I have all of their names and I'm going to reach out to them, right, to connect with them. And, I want to know more. So I do want to say, I love the fact that you said, and I want to tell you what I do. I have twice now in the last 2 weeks been ambushed, if you will. So, so I do a podcast, as this is what we're doing. And I did a podcast with someone, and then he said, oh, I have someone who's perfect for your podcast. I'm like, cool. Okay. So he introduced me to this person and we got together and he got on the line with us. It had nothing to do with my podcast. They were trying to get me to work for them. Right. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with what I do in my life. I have no interest in doing this. And you just wasted my time. If you want to be on my podcast and you want to talk about shit, that's fine. But this is not what we're going to talk about. And so I was really offended and will definitely not refer him or her to anyone. Right. And so it just created bad will and wasted my time. I could have been talking with someone who wanted to be on my podcast or someone who wanted to talk to me about business. Right. So,
Well, I've been bullshitting the whole time here. I was just trying to see if you'd sign up for the MLM that I have running.
Nope, not interested. I've signed up for enough MLMs in my
I think
life.
that's racist and offensive, just so you know. If you don't sign up for it, it cures all diseases. You just take one pill a day with a half a glass of alkaline water.
Right. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's what it does.
It really is. It really is insane. I have to tell you, Sajad, you're so much fun, right? And you do have an amazing network that you run that I thank you very much that I have become part of. And I do want you to share with people. So how would they get to know you better? How would they reach out to you? What is it that you want to, parting thoughts, leave with our listeners about this conversation or something else?
We've said a lot already.
We did.
I have 2 events that they can check out. The Intellectual and the Outlaw is the second and fourth Thursday of every month with Larry Call. And we come at things from a different approach. And it's very interesting. It's 9:50 a.m. Central to 11:30 a.m. Central. I start right on time. There's no dumbass get to know you questions. And there's no patronizing lectures. So you can come form relationships or you can come pitch. I also run one of the largest and the coolest, definitely the coolest networking group on earth called Polarizing Network with my partner, Kristen Spencer. She believes in know, like, trust, go giver, and it's all about relationships. So she's super smart and she's wrong about everything. It's about driving a $76,000 twin turbo, owning a mountain, and having a 24-year-old girlfriend. That's the meaning of life, in case anybody didn't know. Polarizing networking, 10-minute guest speaker who adds massive value. To add massive value means to say things where people write down what you're saying. That means you're adding massive value. You should be doing that in all your social media, every podcast you do, every presentation, everywhere you go. You should be adding massive value to people. So a 10-minute speaker, 5 minutes with Kristen and I, 15 minutes with the audience, 2 breakout rooms, no gay ass get to know you question. We don't give a fuck about your favorite ice cream, and no patronizing lecture about what you can do and you can't do. You're allowed to be an adult. If you're unable to think for yourself, it's an event of intellectuals. It's over 50 people. 7 of them are multimillionaires. 2 15-minute breakout rooms with no rules, no guidance on what conversation you have. And then 30 minutes after hours where we engage with the audience as well as the guest speaker for that week. We also have opportunities for people to come speak, but you have to attend a couple times first. And with the Intellectual and the Outlaw, if you bring 3 people, the second or fourth Thursday at 9:50 a.m., bring 3 new people who show up on time and stay the whole time, I'll pay you $100. So those are the 2 major events I have running now. I have another one in the development. We call it the mini Shark Tank. where we're going to be interviewing entrepreneurs, 3 within an hour, and putting them through a mini Shark Tank. So the main thing is my events are fucking fun. I don't go to other people's events because they're boring and stupid, and 90% of people at networking events are poor. If it doesn't pay all your bills, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. I currently offer a 30-minute complimentary conversation, although I'm going to be getting rid of that. So if you want to talk to me, I'll talk to you for 30 minutes. If you want to be my friend, you need to hire me. And then after that, we may or may not become friends, but you will be successful. 96% chance if you hire me, you're going to be successful as an entrepreneur.
Yes, I know that Larry is definitely following your formula. So
he's doing really well. Yeah.
Definitely reach out to Sajad. You will not be disappointed. And thank you for listening. This is Gail Craft from the Empowering Process Podcast. Now, if something in this particular episode interests you, or if you have a question, please do comment and let us know. If you know someone who could benefit from this conversation, there was a lot of meat in this one, share it out. And if you liked it, by all means, give us a thumbs up and subscribe so that you know when there is another episode. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Thank you, Sajad. This has been a blast.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Empowering Process Podcast. Be sure to visit Gail at gailcraft.com to learn more about how she serves thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and goal seekers. And remember, if you like this broadcast, be sure to share and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.